this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 things that you must do in order to make reality transurfing work. These are things that if you do will amplify the results that you're getting, plus put you on the path to really creating what you want more easily than ever. Welcome back to another video. My name's Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you those 3 things that you must do in order to make reality transurfing work. Now, first off, let me say that the context for this video is that reality transurfing is a powerful manifestation process, but even more so than just a manifestation process, reality transurfing is a philosophy or a way for seeing the world. And for me, it was something that somebody recommended to me. They said, hey, read this book. Or no, what they said was, you haven't read this book? And I was like, well, what is it called? And they told me, and then I was like, no, I haven't. And I read it, and I started to read it, and then I started to apply some of the parts of this book, some of the ideas, into my own life, and things started happening more easily than ever. Like, I felt like I let go of a lot of the resistance that I had. Before that, I was kind of more of like a Gary Vaynerchuk type style mentality, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it was like a work hard, you know, it's kind of like my my motto in a way. And from there, it's like things began to leverage themselves. I began to take action, but from a place of passion, and I began to really understand these ideas I'm going to be sharing with you today, applying them, and then getting just results that were so much easier to achieve because of that. So first off, let me say reality transurfing is a process that has to do with understanding the infinite parallel realities that exist. This is called the alternative space. And the idea is that we're constantly shifting between different parallel realities. That's what movement is. And when we set more intentions, as we set more intentions, we will experience more of what we want in our life. It's just like simply a lot of people just don't set intentions, and therefore they get the results that they've always gotten because there's not that focus. Think of intention like the focus, the direction that you're going in. Now, there's another part of reality transurfing that has to do with what are called pendulums. Now, pendulums are these kind of thought structures. Anytime we think thoughts, we think that those thoughts don't really exist anywhere, but in reality, those thoughts have an electromagnetic type energy that even though we can't physically see, it still exists. Now, because we're having a collective consciousness or a collective experience with other people, when multiple people think similar thoughts, what happens is these thoughts create thought structures, and these beliefs then in a way become collective beliefs. So many times we think we're like, oh, I'm having my own thoughts. But in reality, we're having the thoughts of a pendulum. Now, a pendulum is any ideology that many people think about. It is pendulums around the idea of being Republican or Democrat. There's pendulums around the news. There's pendulums around just about everything. Any sports teams, anything you could have any like emotional charge for, there are pendulums around it. And the idea is that we get sucked into these pendulums thinking they're our own thoughts, when in reality, they're the thoughts of the collective consciousness. So the moment we become aware of this is the moment we can start to take our power back. Then we can start to live in the way we prefer. Now, another part of reality transurfing is understanding what is called decreased importance. Anytime we give something excess meaning, we create something called excess potential. Now, excess potential is this energy that then must be balanced out. And metaphorically speaking, there are balancing forces that come into play that balance that out. So anytime you may have noticed this, anytime you maybe are attracted to someone, you really want them to like you, you make them very important, you put them on a pedestal, and then guess what? They eventually have to be knocked off that pedestal. So those balancing forces come into play that make it so that something happens to where either that person's not attracted to you, or some situation just arises, or that person can just feel the resistance and isn't attracted. So that's the idea. And when we learn how to neutralize and not make things too important, we really start to resonate with our desires. So in general, it's also about understanding the power of connecting to our passion, that's much more powerful because then our heart gets involved in it as well. And there's other aspects of it as well. But I think that that's a good general basis that will help you understand what I'm about to share with you. Now, the first thing that you must do with reality transurfing and to make it work is a combination of 2 things. First off, to simply set more intentions. If you set more intentions, I promise you, you will start to experience amazing things in your life. You know, this is something that also aligns very well with like Abraham Hicks type material, right? Abraham Hicks, and there's a process that they use called segment intending. Now what this is, and I recommend that you mix these ideas together. You know, a lot of these processes, it's not a this or this. a lot of times it's a this and this. So reality transurfing can resonate, be very powerful, and so can some of the the ideas from the law of attraction and like the Abraham Hicks teachings. They go hand in hand. And one of them is called segment intending. Now, segment intending is something that you develop momentum as you go with. Now, this is something that I do in my daily life. If I'm going to the gym, for example, what I might do is one segment is me getting in my car, getting ready to go to the gym. That's a segment. So what do? I set the intentions that I want to have a safe trip, that I want to listening to good music on my way there, or listen to an audiobook or whatever it is, and that I'm going to enjoy myself. And it's only like a 5-minute ride down the street. I get in my car, I have a safe drive. Then what is the next segment? Me being at the gym, right? Or you could say driving to the gym is. So then just being present and living that out. Then going to the gym and being at the gym, what do I want to do? Well, I'm going to work out this, this, and this. I want to feel great. I want to, there's a lot of people there that I talk to, that I see. I want to have good conversation, but then get right back into my workout. I want to do this. I want to do that. I put those intentions in place. And as I do that, guess what? I start to experience more of that. In a way, I'm priming myself for those kind of experiences, and guess what? They come to pass. It is so powerful. And then this is the best part. You do it now, and as you do it in the future, guess what? It gets easier and easier because you've created those layers over reality that make it the path of least resistance for you to think those. So now when I naturally get in my car, I'm primed to have an intention to drive safe somewhere, because that's just the way it works. The subconscious mind kicks in, it's on autopilot. So this is something that's very powerful with reality transurfing, is simply setting more intentions. Set the intentions, and then the other side of this that I was talking about is setting what is called a target slide. Now this is a technology, this is more of like a perspective in reality transurfing that we can have when it comes to understanding what is called the slide technique. Now a slide technique is when you imagine the best possible version of what you want to experience. You imagine one snapshot of what that could be. What does that snapshot look like? It could be you at an event, maybe like you love doing painting, and it's like you at an event, it's like an art exhibit of all your paintings, right? Then the ideal reality, the slide that you create, is you there showing people your paintings, giving a little bit of a speech, talking to people that are excited to see what you're doing. You're there with maybe a significant other if that's something that you desire. And what you do is you focus on that scene, that slide that represents what you're excited about. Now what you want to do is, as you look at the slide, what you do is you think about this about 4 or 5 times a day, and you see it as if you're looking through your own eyes, and you feel like that is natural for you. That's another part that we'll get into in a minute as well, but it's making things very natural, more of observing it rather than being like, oh, that would make me feel a 10 out of 10. So this is called the slide technique. There's also, this also relates to other law of attraction teachings, but this is very powerful because as you do it, what you are doing is you are pulling information from that parallel reality, because that version of you exists right now in the present moment. It's simply vibrating at a different resonance, and you can't perceive of it. But there is a version of you, because there's an infinite number of parallel realities that exist. That's what quantum physics is coming to understand, and that's what we can begin to understand. We can more so resonate with what we want to desire, and as we begin to do that, everything will begin to change. Now, the second one has to do with understanding your state of being. Now, this is key. The state of being that you are in, because here's the thing. The main part of reality transurfing is understanding that it's all about our response to the mirror of life. So in essence, everything we experience is a reflection of what we believe to be true. This is also something I talked a lot about in the channel before I came to understand reality transurfing. Now, because of that, if we choose our own state of being, we automatically start to experience more and more what are called life tracks of what we want to experience. So think about this. Anytime something happens in your life, there's something that happens, you give it meaning. Whatever meaning you give that situation is going to be the effect you get out of it. So something happens, there are an infinite number of parallel realities you could experience of that. If you give it a positive meaning, you get a positive benefit out of it. If you give it a negative meaning, you get a negative effect from it. So it's almost like in every moment, you get to decide what things mean. And if you give it a positive meaning, you will get a positive effect out of it. Now think of positive and negative not so much in the form of good or bad, but is it relevant, or does it serve me, or does it not serve me? Positive is more of being integrative and connective. Negative is more separative and segregative. It's more so, do you feel more connected to who you are? Are you allowing the events to happen in your life, knowing and trusting the process? Or are you assuming that this isn't part of the blueprint of how things are supposed to happen? I'm not going to integrate this into my life, and this is separate from my path of what I really want to experience. So this is about understanding your state of being. Now, this is a trick too. If you want to become more lucky with reality transurfing, what you do is you simply, in a way, intend that you have something lucky happen. You intend that something happens in your favor, that you're in the right place at the right time, whatever it is, set that intention, and as soon as something happens to where that could be something that you experience, even if it's as small as somebody opening the door for you while you're going somewhere, even if it's just something as small as that, as it happens, be appreciative for it. Give it attention, acknowledge it, recognize it, because as you do that, your state of being will increase a little bit, and then guess what? You're more likely to perceive of more of that. This is where momentum really comes into play. And if you start to apply this and realize that the most important thing in your life isn't necessarily the things that you can manifest, it's more so your state of being. And if you can give yourself permission right now in the present moment to decide that that's who you choose to be, you can realize that the most important thing is not what happens, but how you respond to what happens. And as you do that, everything in your life will begin to change in very powerful ways. Now, another part of this is understanding the power of the pendulums. Now, this is the third one, actually. Now, the balance of pendulums and the balance of coordination. So, this is a mixture of two things. But first off, what you want to do is you must be aware of the pendulums in your life. There are going to be pendulums that run themselves out. There are going to be pendulums that are sucking you into the reality. That are saying, hey, this is what you need to really focus on. You're going to think that that's your thoughts, when in reality, those are the thoughts of the pendulum. So, for example, you go to work and somebody's trying to get you all ramped up about something that just happened with upper management. Now, you feel the pull. You feel like, oh, I want to go in this direction because it's like something I can get my teeth and sink my teeth into. However, that will drain your energy and that will lower your own vibrational set point. So instead, what you can do is you can be aware that that pendulum is trying to get you. Be aware of it. Don't label it. Don't give it excess meaning. Just allow it to be there, but then choose something else. Like, okay, choose something else. It's that easy. There's a technique that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, and it's this technique that has to do with understanding how we can do this thing where we use our physiology and we think and say the word change. Now, if you can't say it out loud, I get it. But you usually go like this. You go change, like that. So what you could do is you could just go like this. You could think to yourself, change, and then go about your day. This helps to break up patterns and resistance and the same thoughts going down that path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance may have been to go down the path of agreeing with them and feeding into that reality. So even more so powerful than that is to you to be who you prefer to be and to just say change and not to get sucked in by the pendulums. Now, the other side of this is the balance of coordination. This is what it's called. Anytime we make something more important than it has to be, we immediately distance ourselves from it. So what you want to do is be aware of how you feel with the goals that you have. If you feel like, you know, your goals are that you want to make a certain amount per year, say your goals is to make a certain amount per year, that is not really a goal with reality transurfing. That is a side effect of a goal. Money is a side effect of you adding value to other people. Money is a side effect of you doing what you love. So knowing that, it's like, what can I be more passionate about? Because the power of the heart is so much more powerful than that of the head. The reason this is because the heart can't understand the idea of why money is the goal. Because money is something that means something else. Money means freedom. Money means security. It's something that the emotion of our heart can't really connect to. So instead, focus on what you could actually be passionate about. So say this is for you to have your own art exhibit, since I was using that example earlier. You having your own art exhibit. Now, if you imagine it, and when you think about it, it makes you feel like you can't get there, or there's so much that has to happen, or it makes you feel overwhelmed. What you want to do is you want to decrease the level of importance by seeing it as natural that you experience something like that. Because imagine the best possible version of yourself, you living in that reality. Is it just this crazy thing for you to be experiencing that? Probably not, because you just create art for a living. It's what you love to do. There's people that love what you do. So a logical next step is for you to create an art exhibit. That's the perspective you can have. For me, my slide that I've created is me speaking in front of a lot of people, people loving what I'm saying, me being in the flow state, me going to amazing restaurants afterwards, traveling the world, creating videos. That's my goal, and that's my slide. So I see that as natural for me. I create videos. It's what I do. It's easy for me to go do something like that because I'm doing that and I'm being that in the present moment already online, so why not in person? That's the perspective, therefore I can relate to it in a much more powerful way. Now, if you want a powerful meditation that will help you to decrease the level of importance that you give things, I've created one that you can download in the top of the description box below. I recommend that you listen to it for at least 21 days to get the maximum benefit out of it, but I think that it can absolutely transform your life. So remember, the 3 things that you can begin to do that you must do to make Reality Transurfing work is to simply set intentions and to create your target slide, to think about that 4 or 5 times a day, and to just segment and tend more throughout your daily life. Secondly, your state of being. Always choose to give things some type of positive meaning, even if it's a learning lesson, but more so focus on your own state of being. And then thirdly, balance out that coordination. As you balance out the energy and as you start to change from those pendulums that are trying to suck you in, everything will begin to change. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to like this video. If you guys liked it, feel free to hit that notification button so that you guys can see the daily vids that I do. And other than that, as always, peace, much love.